The views expressed on this episode, as with all episodes of We Hate Your Baby Daddy, are based solely on our personal opinions and shit we heard in the streets.
The content here should not be taken as indisputable fact. This show is for entertainment purposes only, so enjoy and don't come for us.
Welcome back to another episode of We Hate Your Baby Daddy. It's just Bree this week, and we are going to talk about Cam Newton. But before we get into Cam Newton, one of our listeners reached out and asked if we could share her story. And I'm going to play it for you, the message that she sent us. I mean, she was kind enough to put a trigger warning, and I'm going to repeat it here. There's a trigger warning because she does describe like abuse that she went through. So, if a description of abuse is triggering to you, then you might want to skip over it. But I mean, the story, it brought me to tears. I mean, she's so brave, just like we all are. If you're a single mother, you are one of God's like strongest soldiers, because even the best baby daddy is still like the worst. Like baby daddies are the worst. And she tells the story of just like her survival and strength and what she went through and how she came out of it in the end. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And so I will play that for you. Dee is not here this week. She's not feeling well. So it's just me. I have a small life update, nothing like serious, but I have been seeing someone who I really like. And if you listen to our subscriber only content, it kind of details like the breakup that I went through and then the terrible thing that I did after that. And now I am seeing somebody totally unrelated to that situation who is really sweet and really kind and really handsome. Like, it's actually scary sometimes. I'm used to being the hottie in the relationship, so so it's like very different dating somebody else who's also very attractive. It's a little scary, but yeah, I'm really happy with that. Also, I like got laid off from my like day job. And so that kind of sucks, but I can't be like too sad about it because I just feel like I was talking to my best friend, and I came to the conclusion like everything happens for a reason, right? Like I've been laid off before. It is a little scary like now that I have a child to look after, um having to consider those things. But I think it's going to be okay. I mean, I'm a pretty high earner based on what I do, and I feel like I'll be able to bounce back pretty quickly. So, if anything, I'm just going to take this time to kind of like chill out, relax, focus on the podcast, creating this wonderful show for you guys. So that's what's going on with that. I told my baby daddy I got laid off. I was like, I might have to sell my home and move. And he's just like, move where? I'm like, to wherever I get a job at, obviously. Thanks for caring. And he's just like, let me get back to you. Like, just, I think his problem is that he doesn't want to pay more child support, which is pathetic. But whatever. I mean, I haven't asked him for anything, but it's like he didn't even offer to be like, oh, do you need anything? Like, can I help you? Like, can I watch the baby or something so you can apply for a job? Like, nothing. Just move where. I need to process this, is what he said. Such a narcissist. But that's Junkie Crashy. I mean, if you've been listening to this show, Junkie Crashy is gonna junkie crash. So he's probably drunkie crashing out right now as we speak somewhere. Who cares? Um, anyway, that being said, you guys should subscribe. If you're not a subscriber already, please subscribe. That's where we have all the juicy goss, about our personal lives, our more personal things that we typically will not share on this show, on this part of the show. Um, Sometimes for legal reasons and sometimes just because it's more personal, so if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe on Spotify. It's $1.99 a month, and it supports our show, and then we don't have to like clutter the show with advertisements, which I know would get annoying pretty quickly. But otherwise, also leave a review. I feel like we're just like lacking in reviews, like just click the little 5 stars, whatever device you're listening on. If you look at the show, like about page, there's going to be some stars on there. Click 5 stars. That way, other people will see the show, like the show just like you do, and want to listen every week. So support us. And we have merch too. So if you are obsessed with the show and you want to show your fandom, buy a t-shirt, buy a tote bag, buy some stickers, stick them around your town. Tell people about us. Like, we want to keep doing this show as long as we can. It's really fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy making it for you. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and play the voice message that Emmie sent to us. So please, get yourself ready. Like I said, it does contain some description of abuse, but like I said, also there's light at the end of the tunnel. So listen up, and here it goes.
My name is Emmie. Now, before I start, I just want to preface this by saying that my story may be triggering. I will discuss some details of the abuse that I received. When I was 19, I ended up dealing with my best friend's older brother. I thought he was a really sweet guy. He was a bigger guy. Like one of those big teddy bear looking guys. I thought he was going to treat me really sweet. Into the relationship, I noticed that he developed he was exhibiting abusive tendencies. He would call me out of my name. He would put his hands on me, things like that. After a while of him doing it and then saying sorry, like literally a few months, I was like, you know what? This is not for me. I want to call it quits. We had ended up breaking up for him finding something in my phone that had nothing to do with him. Like, this was prior to me even meeting him. It was just in my phone. He uses that as an excuse to put his hands on me and try to pull me out of a vehicle while my seatbelt was still on. 3 weeks after this incident, 2 days after that incident, he pulls up to my house to fight me like he's a girl or something. Like, I don't know. We ended up fighting in the parking lot. My uncle broke it up. 2 to 3 weeks later, I found out that I'm pregnant with my daughter. I text him and I say, I reach out to my best friend, again, which is his sister. I said, hey, tell your brother I'm pregnant. Let me know what he says, like if he wants to be involved in the child's life, because if not, that's fine. He doesn't have to be. I just want to know, like, if I'm co-parenting with this person or not, because at that moment in time, I felt like all of the things that he was doing to me, if we aren't in a relationship, it won't get done. Like, he won't be abusive to me if we're not together. At this point, we're not together. I'm going through like the first 2 months of pregnancy by myself, no communication from him. I'm living my life. He comes around and he says, hey, I want to be there for you and the baby. I want to be involved. Let me know when all of the appointments are, blah, blah, blah. Through my entire pregnancy, the only person that showed up to every single appointment was my mother. He only went to 3. During my pregnancy, I was diagnosed with HG, which is hyperemesis, which is severe morning sickness, but I had morning sickness all day. I ended up losing about 40 to 50 pounds during that pregnancy, and I could not do anything for myself. I was barely eating because every time I ate, I would throw up. I had several ER visits. I was going to the doctor to get IV treatments, iron infusions, things like that every so often. So with all of that, he only went to 3 appointments. During the 6th month of pregnancy, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Again, I'm pregnant, I'm vulnerable. This is someone that I am having a child with. I do want my child to grow up in a 2-parent home. So at this point, sure, we can talk about getting back together. While I go spend the night at his house, he's receiving text messages from his ex saying that she just went to the hospital and checked her HCG levels And there's a possibility that she's pregnant too. So I tell him, hey, like, if you have this going on, no problem. Can you take me home? So he like, yeah, I'll take you home. We get in the car in front of his mom's house while his mom and 2 of his cousins were outside, and he starts arguing with me. And he's like, why are you going through my phone anyway? Why does it matter to you? You wasn't my bitch. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, are you going to take me home? Because I don't want to argue. I really don't care. This man proceeds to hit me in the face and grab me up against the window inside of the vehicle and says, if you hit me back, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. Mind you, his mom sees this and she says, hey, y'all stop all that fighting. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, he just punched me in the face in the car and I'm supposed to not do anything? But this is prefacing how his family reacts to anything that he does. So after that, I get out of the car and I walk down around the corner to my auntie's house. He's driving all on the side of me, yelling, calling me all type of stupid B words because I'm 6 months pregnant and I'm walking. I honestly think that me walking around the corner is safer than being in a vehicle with you. We are in and out of contact up until around the baby shower or my maternity pictures, sorry. And I said, hey, I'm having these maternity pictures. It's for your kid. Do you want to be there? He's like, okay, cool. 2 days before, he's like, I don't want to come to the fucking maternity shoot. Just like out of nowhere, flipping out like he usually does. Maternity shoot day comes. I take them by myself. Beautiful photos. Don't regret being by myself at all. The baby shower day comes. Mind you, my mom and my uncles have been planning and paying for everything. His family has contributed nothing. He only paid for half of one of my cakes. And I had 2 baby shower cakes and cupcakes. He only paid for half of one of the cakes. And I'm only saying that because the family's whole, what do I call it? Their whole thing behind me being quote unquote a bitter baby mama is that I want money. I've never wanted money from you people because you people don't have any money. Continuing. So for the first year of my daughter's life, long story short, he made my life a living hell. He was extremely abusive. There was one particular night where him putting his hands on me escalated to me almost losing my life. There was a restraining order placed on him that same night, which is one of the 3 restraining orders that I have had on him within the first year of my daughter's life. That was my last straw. You're not going to unalive me, and you're not going to unalive me in front of my kid. 2 months later, after I stopped dealing with him, he tries to come around again and say, hey, I want to be in a relationship with you. Top of being a drug addicted cheater, you're abusive too. I can't do it. I can't raise my daughter in that type of environment. I didn't grow up seeing my mom get beat on. I don't want my daughter seeing that either. I told him, I do not want to be with you. I don't like you. I have no attraction to you. There's no feeling there. Like, we just had a kid together. I don't feel anything towards you. He proceeds to drive from his house to my house, which is 40 minutes away from each other. He got into my apartment complex because a neighbor recognized him. He came upstairs to my apartment and kicked down my door, which led the door to fly into my face. Not once have I said anything about this man publicly, but for some reason, his family feels the need to tell me that I'm bitter, tell me that I'm wrong and I need to let go of the past and that I need to get right with God. They've been saying that for the past 4 or 5 years now, and for some reason, they've been consistently harassing me the entire time. I have told them to leave me alone, told him to leave me alone. Again, restraining orders are in place. For you to turn around and say that I'm bitter because I asked your son, who is a deadbeat and does not contribute and is also abusive as hell and scary. What do you expect me to do? You expect me to bring my kid to you and throw her into the lion's den, or expect me to put myself in danger? Absolutely not. His whole entire family, everything that I said, every account of abuse that I put on Facebook, he did not deny. He just didn't want me to put it on Facebook. His family says that I'm a narcissist. His family says that I'm crazy and traumatized, but I never had any trauma until I got with him. Now, I know my story is extremely long. You guys might chop it up. If I could go back in time and do it all over again and just focus on myself and wait for the right man to come along, I wish I would have done that. I am very grateful for my daughter. I think she's the most beautiful girl in the world. Wouldn't trade her in the world for anything. But I really do regret that situation. I have never found myself involved with such a low caliber of people. You people know that this man is abusive. And you sat here and you berated his victim. After all of that, I ended up finding a very, very beautiful, handsome black man who treats me like a queen. And we now have two more babies and planning another. So if your story is similar to mine, don't cry. Like, I know it feels weird and effed up in the moment, but you will find your Prince Charming. Just sit there and wait on him.
So, first of all, I just want to say to Emmy, thank you so much for being a listener and sharing that story with us. I'm so honored that you wanted to share your story on our show. I mean, I just related to so many parts. Like, even though like I was not physically abused, I relate to a lot. Like, first of all, being with somebody who presented themselves one way and then turned out a complete different way. But by the time you realize that, it's too late. You're already pregnant. You can't go back, you know? So many of us find ourselves pregnant by somebody who, I mean, we were already kind of giving the side eye. Like, it's very common. I mean, with my baby daddy, with Junkie Crashy, we weren't even together. I had already broken up with him because he had shown some signs that he was like mentally unstable. Like, he was crazy. But if you listen to our last episode, with Arania Swat from Run His Pocket Sis, in that episode, I explained how he was dog sitting for me and we were still like trying to have like a friendship. We hooked up one time and I got pregnant. And just like Emmy shared in her story, um, he kept asking me to get back together and I was pregnant and hormonal and emotional. And I'm like, I want my little family. And I agreed. But it obviously was not the right thing to do. Um, Also, I want to point out, just like in my situation with Drunky Crashy, like his mother enables him so much. And Emmy's baby daddy's mom literally watched her getting beat on and said, "Hey, stop all that fighting to y'all." Like, what? She wasn't doing anything. She was pregnant and he hit her in the face. And she and his mother and family stood there just watching, like not gonna do nothing. Like, how trash you have to be? How much of an enabler do you have to be to watch a pregnant woman getting beat on and then being like, "Oh, that's my son. I gotta turn a blind eye." Like, an abuser's an abuser. I don't care if that's your son. I don't care who that is to you. Like, get your balls up. Call the police. Like, how are we gonna sit there and just watch somebody being manhandled like that and just be like, whatever, it's my son? That's terrible. Terrible. And I mean, any boy moms listening to this, like, please don't turn out like that, for the love of God. I mean, oh, anyway, one thing I noticed about Emmy in her story, like, she sounds like she comes from a loving family. I don't know, but her description of like her uncles helping her pay for the baby shower and like her auntie like helping her out after the abuse situations she went through. Like, I just want to point out, like, these types of situations can happen to anybody. Like, people like to say like, oh, fatherless women, women from broken homes, like, you become a baby mama. Anybody can become a baby mama. Oh, literally all you have to do is get pregnant. Like, I come from a pretty like lower middle class suburban background, and I got pregnant when I was, what, 30, 31. Like, you know, and I was already a six-figure earner at that point, and I became pregnant, and I became a single baby mama, and now I'm an unemployed single baby mama since I lost my job. Like, it can happen to anybody, and also a former stripper. If you listen to our subscriber-only episode about how we used to be strippers, um, you know, it can happen to anybody. People like to put these labels on single mothers, but I reject all of them. Or it's not even that I reject them, I just reclaim them. Like, there's nothing that you can say about me or any single mother that is worse than what goes through our heads, you know? Nobody goes through life and says, "Hey, I want to be a single baby mama." Nobody says that. But it can happen to anybody. All you have to do is give birth. Like, you can be married and be a married single mother where the father is absent and you're just doing all the domestic everything for the baby while he's just out running the streets. And you can get divorced and not get any support from him and find yourself in that situation. Anything can happen. And so, poor Emmy, like, she has this loving family. She thought she had a nice, loving boyfriend, and he turned out to be a fucking villain. So, one other thing I wanted to point out from her story, like, how she mentioned that they were calling her bitter, saying that she wanted money. And she's like, "What money?" And I'm like, "That happened to me too." Like, not the bitter thing, but like, because I told my baby daddy before we lawyered up, I told him, "You're gonna have to send me child support." And he flipped out. He was on steroids. He had a breathalyzer in his car at the time. And we were taking the baby, I think, to a doctor's appointment. And it came up and he started slamming the breathalyzer on his steering wheel so hard the thing broke. Like, one time he got mad, he punched his windshield, it cracked and shattered his phone on both sides. The back and the front was shattered. Like, and that's a form of abuse, honestly, that we can talk about in a different episode. But those kind of like displays of anger that is a form of abuse. But anyway, um, he was like, "You just want me for my money." I'm like, "What money? We make around the same." Like, I never needed you for anything. Like, they act like we get pregnant to trap them. Any money that I receive goes towards the baby. You know how expensive kids are? And it's like, and that's the thing, what's not clicking with people? Everybody knows kids are expensive. So why do they think that we purposely baby trap men, which is such a fucking lie, but why do they think we do that to get their money? Like, if I wanted your money, I would just have it without having a baby. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Now I've trapped and tethered myself to you for over 18 years for money. Like, I'm not even gonna see, because you know how much daycare costs? Whew, let me relax. But I just wanted to say I related to that. And um also in the same vein, him and his family calling her a narcissist. It's pure projection. Pure projection. It's like anything that they say, you can just basically chalk it up to projection. I mean, with my baby daddy, for example, he claims anything that he did to me, like the whole sexting thing, which I think is cheating. You can agree or disagree, but whatever. He tries to turn it around and make it my fault. Well, because you were going out with your friends. Like, really? I didn't start going out with my friends until I saw those messages and didn't want to be in my own home where you were. I want to get away from you. But they just find a way to take their actions and put it on you. He would always try to be like, "You're as bad as me. You're as bad as me." I'm not. I'm literally not. And that's why I can't even sit here and be sad, really, about the whole situation of me and him, because I get to live my life. I get to wake up every day and be Brie. He has to wake up every day and be junkie crashy. I don't envy that. I don't care what he's doing. He's a joke to me. Um, but yes, I just wanted to point out that him and his family calling her a narcissist. They raised a malignant narcissist that punches pregnant women in the face and has had 3 restraining orders filed against him, and got somebody else pregnant at the same time he got her pregnant. Like, this dude sounds fucking crazy, bro. Um but anyway, I do like how she said that she obviously does not regret her child. Nobody regrets their child. Well, I shouldn't say that, but me and Emmy don't regret our children, but she regrets him. And I feel like that about my baby daddy a lot, especially a lot lately. It's like, for example, like I said earlier, when I told him I lost my job, instead of being like, "Are you okay? How can I help you?" He just tries to find a way to make it about himself. And it's annoying. I wish that, like she said, how she said she wished she would have waited for, like, somebody better to come along. Like, I kind of feel like that, But I don't know, like, my baby daddy, he did give me some great genes to make a kid with. Our kid is stunningly beautiful, and she luckily got my intelligence. She's very smart. Um, but him, I just really cannot stand him a lot of the time, and that sucks. I hate that for our daughter. Um, but, it is what it is. I just wanted to say I could relate to that. And, lastly, the light at the end of the tunnel, she found herself a new man and has like a beautiful, like, fairy tale ending. I love that. I absolutely love that because, like I always say, people always act like, "Whoa, you're a single mother. Nobody's ever going to want you." That's bullshit. And I say that all the time on this show. I mean, I'm one of the most sought after people I know, and I'm a single mother. The guy that I'm seeing, he was like looking at a video tutorial of how to like install a car seat in his Cadillac because he's like, I want to, make sure I can drive you both around. Like, it was so sweet. Like, there are guys out there who are mature. You got to stop listening to these. Like, it's like there's a difference between female podcasters and like podcast bros, guys who get on their little mics and just jibber jabber about, single moms aren't this, single moms aren't that. Like, that's all BS. It's all internet BS. That's not how the real world is. Like, a lot of guys actually like moms because we're responsible. We know how to like manage a household and take care of a family and like, raise kids. They see these traits in us that they want in a wife, and you can have a blended family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, people just want a reason to shit talk on women for anything, for aging, for having a career, for not having a career. Like, it doesn't matter. They will always talk shit. They're misogynists. Don't listen to it. So I just wanted to say thank you again to Emmie for sharing your story. You are so brave, and you sound like you're a great mom. Thank you for reaching out. And, to any of our listeners, like, if you ever want to share your story with us, feel free to reach out to us on social media, on Instagram, on X. That's where she reached out to me. I will talk directly to you. I'm on there all the time. So, send me a DM. We'll chat. So thank you, Emmy. And now we're going to talk about Cam Newton. So, Cam Newton. His name is Cameron Jarrell Newton. He was born on May 11th, 1989. He's famous for being an NFL quarterback, which, if you listen to this show, you don't care. Nobody cares. I don't care what teams he played for. It doesn't matter. It's not important. I mean, I know him because of the way he dresses. He's very flamboyant with his style of dress. He dresses like a Batman supervillain. Anyway, Cam Newton has 8 kids by 3 different women. He has 4 kids with a woman named Kia Proctor. He had a baby on her with a woman named La Reina Shaw. She's an Instagram model. And he just had a baby girl with a very unfunny comedian named Jasmine Brown. We'll get into why she's unfunny. But basically, Cam Newton, he is such a whore. Like, I saw this tweet. It was like, we need to talk about the Nick Cannonification of men these days. Like, particularly black men. Like, what are you doing? Let's get into it. So, Cam Newton, he was dating Kia Proctor. They had 4 kids together. And when he had that baby on her, she dumped him. And it was reported on all the blogs. He ended up like repossessing a vehicle that he had given her to drive their 4 kids around. Like, can you imagine? You're with a guy, an athlete, a famous quarterback, an athlete. And he's like, here's this car, we have all these kids, like, you need the room, drive this car. And then because you had a baby on her, she breaks up with you. You're like, well, give me my car back. Can you imagine? And that's a car that she drives their kids around in. So it's really like he was taking the car away from the kids, like ruthless behavior. So Cam Newton, he brags about how prolific he is, how he has fathered so many children, like, as if that's something to brag about. It's 8 kids, like, relax. But he was recently on a podcast. His podcast is called apparently Funky Friday, whatever, who cares? I'm not giving him any advertisement on my show. But he was saying that he wants to have more. He's like, I'm not done. I want more. And I did some digging into that because his current girlfriend, the unfunny comedian Jasmine Brown, she has created a whole persona around specifically being baby mama number 3. And it's funny because in her unfunny comedy routines, she would go around disparaging baby mamas, talking down on them, being like, that'll never be me. That'll never be me. But then as soon as she got pregnant and was baby mama number 3, she was pregnant doing a comedy routine, and she said, a rich nigga put pressure on me. She's like, if a rich nigga put pressure on you, you'll be baby mama 3 too. Like, no, absolutely the fuck not. Like, you're baby mama number 3 because you're an easy target, and Cam Newton, the car repossessor, was able to impregnate you and you kept it and you're a dummy. That's it. Like, she now her comedy tour, I'm pretty sure she calls the comedy tour baby mama number 3. Like, it's embarrassing. It's the most cringe thing. She's not funny. And it just reminds me of how when your baby daddy moves on and gets a new girlfriend, how she's like, oh, his baby mama's crazy, won't let him see the kids. Whole time it's him that doesn't want to see them. But anyway, so she's like, oh, a rich nigga put pressure on me. Cam Newton is not spendy with women. Cam Newton repossessed his first baby mama's vehicle that he got for her. I was like, give me that car back. Because if you want to be with somebody else, he can drive my 4 kids around. Like, he's a stereotypical piece of shit baby daddy. And we all know it. It's like, do you not know it, bitch? So all he gives women is babies and a headache. He's not giving money. She went on a podcast and she was talking about how she says the way I love is my biggest flex. She says she's submissive to Cam. She basically mothers him. She cooks every meal for him and she scratches his back until he falls asleep every night and watches him sleep. She's like, his breathing changes. That's how I know he's asleep. And she's like, you have to listen to this. She's like, this might sound psychotic, but I just watch him fall asleep. It's so creepy, dude. It's so creepy. And so on Cam's podcast, he had a psychologist on. Her name is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So he told Dr. Bryant he still hasn't found his wife yet. After all that stuff that she described doing for him, he says, I'm still looking for my wife. And he says, my fear of divorce is higher than my desire for marriage. He's still looking for a wife. After she said she cooks every meal for him, scratches his back until he falls asleep each night, he says, I'm still looking for my wife. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the man that you submit to, quote unquote, submit to, saying that about you? And Dr. Bryant, she reads him for complete filth, and it's actually really great. You guys actually should dig that video up. If you go on X and just search Cam Newton, I'm sure it will pop up. So Dr. Bryant asked him, why are you running around creating broken homes? Like it's not a flex to have 8 kids with 3 different women. That's not a flex at all. These kids don't have a genuine relationship with you. You're not in the home. You have to split time between households. Like, it's giving Nick Cannon, and he didn't really have an answer for that. He was just like, "Okay, I accept what you're saying," but he doesn't care. It's like, these men act like they have a breeding fetish. They're narcissists. They just wanna breed, 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 create these little people in their image and move on to the next. This woman, again, Jasmine, the unfunny comedian Jasmine Brown, she has she details how much she does for him. She packs his bags for him when he's traveling. When he comes home, she unpacks the bags for him. Like, she just goes into detail about all the stuff she does for him. And he, after that, goes on to say, "I'm still looking for my wife." Like, and this is why you should never, ever do wifey shit for a boyfriend. I mean, I say this all the time. And listen, I'm an expert on having a boyfriend. Like, I've had lots of boyfriends. You don't do wifey shit for them unless you're a wife. And even then, be careful because you don't want to be taken advantage of. Well, anyway, so I don't, I just want to say, I don't think that you should ever allow these men to tell you like marriage is just a piece of paper and you shouldn't care about it, because men like Cam Newton, they know the value in marriage. He knows that the reason why he's so afraid of marriage and so afraid of divorce is because he would have to be sharing his wealth with a woman, and he's so selfish. Men are a highly transactional group of people. They are very transactional. And what that means is like tit for tat. Like, if I'm giving you this, what are you giving me? What do you bring to the table? That's just the nature of men. They always want to know, what can I get? What can I get? And Cam Newton, he's saying, "I'm still looking for my wife." Even though this girl's doing all the wifey stuff, he's just saying he doesn't want to give her anything. He's one of those men who, if you take him to court and put him on child support, he will fight you tooth and nail. He wants to be able to choose what he gives you. He wants to have that control over your life. And a woman like her, she allows that. And you know she's not happy. You know she's not satisfied, but she's gaslighting herself. We are the biggest gaslighters of ourselves, to tell ourselves things are fine when they're not. And you can see that's what she's doing. I mean, again, making her whole comedy routine, her whole tour that she had created herself. That's her own thing that she was doing before Cam Newton, making it all about how she's baby mama number 3, saying the way I love is my biggest flex. Bitch, I mean, lady, you're not married. He's not going to choose you. You're not going to get picked. Pick me's never get picked. They never ever do. And even when they are quote unquote picked, like a married pick me, you're miserable. Like, look at Darius Jackson. Go Google Darius Jackson. If you didn't listen to our episode about Darius Jackson, at least go Google him and see what happened. How he had his wife on live, like we talked about in the last episode, in a bonnet, talking about like, the weapon formed against me will not prosper, when the whole time it's like your husband's a weapon formed against you. These men will be the stumbling block in your life, the weapon formed against you, but we gaslight ourselves to just go along with it when we should not do that. And that's Jasmine Brown right now. And if you're a baby mama listening to this and your baby daddy has moved on to, you know what they say is that new converts to like a idea or religion that they're most zealous. That's how the girlfriend is. The first girlfriend they get after your relationship ends are so zealous about like, "Well, I'm just gonna make my whole identity about this man," and then your kid gets roped into that. I mean, that's Jasmine Brown. It's cringe, it's embarrassing. Do not be a Jasmine Brown. But anyway, Cam Newton, we hate you. You're a piece of trash. Like Dr. Bryant said, stop going around creating these broken homes. Settle down. They can't though. The narcissism will not allow them to just settle with one woman. They look at women as they don't even care about them. It's a commodity. He wants to play football with his bros and be a bro and be out with the men. He uses the women for sex. So he's heterosexual but homoromantic, as in women are for sex and for breeding and for domestic, for being your mother, and men are for everything else. Your love, your adoration, your respect. Like, it's cringe. And we see that time and time again with these men. So don't find yourself in that situation. And if you do, if you already have, I sympathize with you. I'm sorry. But that's Cam Newton. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to submit a story about your baby daddy, like Emmy did in the beginning of this episode, I would be honored to share your story on the show. You know, after I listened to her story, um, I messaged her and I was like, Emmy, your story like brought me to tears. I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm so honored that you would share your story with us. She says, that's just a small piece of it, but thank you very much. I never spoke about it publicly until now, and it made me feel so much better. I don't have to hide anymore. Our show is like a therapy session for baby mamas. Like, if you want to share and get, your message out there about what you went through, like, we have hundreds of listeners all over the world. People can relate, can commiserate. So send us a voice message, reach out to us on X, on Instagram. We're always online. Like, tell us your story. You can just send a typed up message. I'll read it. You don't have to use your real name. Like, you can be as anonymous as you want. We will share your story and honor it and discuss it on this show. So feel free to reach out. Our social media is at WHY Baby Daddy Pod. That is on every platform: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. So, reach out and leave a review if you haven't already. Buy some merch, subscribe to our subscriber only content. Support the show so we could keep it going forever and ever and ever. And that's all for this week. Thank you for listening. Bye.